First of all, thanks to everybody who's contributed to the campaign, whether that be financial contribution, big or small, or just a retweet, or generally interacting with it in some way in order to create a buzz about it. After a very, very strong start in the first week, the campaign's kind of plateaued at 9,500. The target is 12,000. You can take about 1,200 of that off to pay the fee to the Indiegogo site. And I'm going to keep set aside a proportion of the fee for local community centres, which I've identified and know basically some stuff that they could be doing with, including pool cues and a new computer game and some more updated modern stuff. So keep the donations coming, keep the tweets going out, and keep helping me to raise awareness of the campaign. Just want to talk a wee bit about what the idea behind the book is, just in case I haven't been really clear about it. There's a lot of speculation that because of donations from people like J.K. Rowling that this is going to be an SNP bad affair. In truth, one of the subtle aspects of poverty that I want to try and address with the book is how we blame other people for the poverty. So depending on where you sit on the political spectrum, you will attribute inequality to some other group in the society. So if you are to the right on the political spectrum, you might have a worldview which attributes responsibility for poverty to people who choose to live in poverty, to people who choose not to try and lift themselves up out of poverty, who choose to languish in addictions and self-defeating attitudes within their community and within their home. That's a rationale that I understand and have learnt a lot more about over the last couple of years on this journey that I've been on of trying to immerse myself in the logic of people that I traditionally would disagree with. So I understand that point of view, which is you can throw all sorts of money at a problem, but if a person's attitude isn't right in order to raise themselves up in some way, then you may as well just burn the money. If you're on the left, you will attribute poverty to capitalism, and poverty is something that is structural, something that is built into the system, not something that is an economic externality, but something that is a deliberate byproduct, something that is designed to incentivize us to work hard, to push on in life, to amass for ourselves more wealth in order to create more opportunity that trickles down. And that model doesn't necessarily work, and that society is held up by people at the bottom who are either used as something to tread on or held up as an example of what not to be like. If you're in the centre, you probably have a mix of both of these viewpoints, and that is kind of where I am at just now with my politics in general, partly because I don't have the emotional energy to constantly be attributing blame, to constantly be assuming the intentions of large cross sections of society, to be constantly assuming that there is a hostility out there towards me personally or my community. I recognise that might be seen as naive by some, but it's a good place for me to be just now in my life, where I'm unsure of what's true and I'm unsure of what's right, because there are so many competing ideologies out there vying for my attention, and I still want to be active and I still want to contribute and I still have things to say, but I feel a bit rudderless. So it's in that spirit that I will write the book, from a naive perspective, from a perspective of someone who will assume good faith in all of the actors in the society that contribute or take part in the phenomenon of poverty. It will be written obviously from a perspective of someone who grew up in Scotland, in an urban centre in Scotland, but I'll try not to make it too specific. I'll try and talk broadly about aspects of growing up and things that I have experienced where I've been interfacing with various people, organisations, institutions on this journey of not only coming out of poverty, but of understanding why I was there in the first place and the factors that contributed to all of the discord in my life, both personal, emotional, psychological, structural, political, cultural. I'll try and cover it as broadly as possible, but also keep it conversational, keep it accessible, keep it real, play to my strengths. This is the first book that I've ever written. I don't want to take on something massive. People seem to enjoy when I link my experience with the political issues of the day. So I'm going to attempt to do that in a comprehensive fashion to write an entertaining and hopefully valuable book that passes comment on what poverty actually feels like, what it's like to be stuck there, how you perceive the world when you are there, and some of the things that stop you from moving forward both within yourself and in the society around you. It will be written in good faith that all political parties don't want to see people in poverty, but that they have different viewpoints on how it should be challenged. And so, while I will obviously address certain political difficulties or certain political footballs within it, I will always try and assume, or at least aspire to assume, that people have genuine political and ethical dilemmas from their position on the political spectrum with their obligations to their constituents, and that it's all of these things being balanced by the various actors in the dilemma that create the gridlock. The book will be written in a fashion that anyone from anywhere in the political spectrum will pick it up and read it and won't feel they are being targeted, but instead may feel like they could drop their defences and come forward in a discussion about how do we begin to address this problem, setting aside political tribalism and understanding why there is tribalism, but not apportioning blame to anyone for it, just saying enough is enough. This is a serious problem. Children are growing up in a scenario where they're severely disadvantaged before they're even 1 year old. And that in a country like this, that cannot be permitted any longer. So that's the idea of the book. It will be a mixture of my own story linked in with the various data points that we use to define poverty. And I'll try to create a map of what it's like for some people who traverse this massive phenomenon. So that's the idea behind the book. If you want to support it, there's a link down there. You can hit that, go and contribute whatever you like or share the link. It's not going to be an SNP bad. I know people have wrongly predicted that that's the case, but that is not going to be the case. Because I don't see, if I genuinely want to do something about it, if I genuinely want to build consensus, then I have to draw a line in the sand somewhere and say, I'm personally going to set aside my personal feelings about this, that and the next thing, about Conservatives, about SNP, about Red Tories, about Nick Clegg, all of these things, and say, do you know what, a clean slate from me moving forward. At the end of the day, if you want to get something done or you want to see a change somewhere, then it has to come from you first. So that's the idea subtly that I'll be addressing in the book. Trying to cut through the tribalism, trying to write something that makes people want to talk to each other instead of just staying behind enemy lines. Do you think that's naive? Do you think that's a cop-out? What's your thoughts? What's your viewpoints? Should I just dig my heels in and keep on attacking the same people that I've been attacking all my life? It's only just become the SNP recently based on some of their political choices. But most of my life I grew up in a radical community and Tories were the enemy. Wonder what your thoughts were. Leave a comment below and have a good day.